Good day and welcome here to LaToken Venture Capital TV. My name is Javier and I'll be your host for today. Like every session, we bring you innovation, technology, solutions, and interesting topics that we know you're going to love hearing about. Today, we're going to talk about the practical uses for the metaverse in an everyday life. And with us, we have David and Jason, and of course, Gary. Gentlemen, good day. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic, fantastic. Great. Thank you for joining. First of all, I would like if you could please introduce yourselves to our viewers. David, would you like to start?
Sure. My name is David Tawil, president and co-founder of ProChain Capital. ProChain is a crypto-focused hedge fund investing in cryptocurrencies, both long and short, also equities of public companies that are exposed to either cryptocurrency, blockchain, and fintech more generally. And then we also invest in private companies as well, seed and venture stage, anywhere in the crypto ecosystem, including the metaverse.
Oh, perfect. Fantastic. Thank you, David. Jason, would you like to go ahead?
Sure. Hi, my name is Jason Jacobson. I'm the founder and managing partner of Propellant Ventures. We are a seed stage venture capital fund based in Chicago. We're focused on investing in companies throughout the Midwest region of the U.S. in B2B industries such as health tech, fintech, ed tech, supply chain, future work. We've also made an investment in a metaverse company, and I've also personally been involved in the entrepreneur and investment space for over 20 years in the Chicago market. So I'm involved in a variety of other things, but the fund is my main focus.
Thank you, Jason, for the introduction. Gary, please go ahead.
Yeah, good to be here. Good to see some familiar faces. My name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur investor. I've been involved in 17 startups and 2 unicorns. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Yva.ai, an AI HR tech company that I founded with Dr. David Yang. I'm the CEO, president, and co-founder of GSD Get Shit Done Venture Studios, a premier
Love
AI
that name.
venture studio located in Silicon Valley. We believe that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities aren't. And our job is to find those companies that want to go global.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, gentlemen, for the introduction. And today's topic is really interesting. I really like the practical uses for the metaverse in our everyday life. And again, to our viewers, if you have a question or comment, please, you can join us. Just type your question in the chat, and then we're going to address it. And now we all have heard about the metaverse. It has been, as being in mainstream, has been one of the more searched words last year. And just to give us an idea of what we're talking about, just want to share with you a little bit of information for our viewers to know how important this is in numbers. According to Statistica, the number of people who will have a VR headset to connect to metaverse will be 76 million. Also, according to Statistica, the amount of Facebook Meta has already invested in VR projects up to last year, $10 billion. And according to EarthWeb, the projected growth of the metaverse industry by 2024 will be $800 billion. So according to those numbers, it's really like puts it like it's going to have a major economic impact. And now we know that. Now we see the numbers; it's quite big. But how is that going to affect our everyday use of the metaverse? Who would like to go ahead, David? Would you like to start?
Sure. I think the metaverse is in an incredibly nascent stage. I think right now there are lots and lots of projects and lots of efforts, but the metaverse is really limited, at least as far as I know, in terms of proliferation, to a lot of gaming platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the metaverse will eventually break out of that gaming, those gaming parameters. But I think we're going to have to wait for some real substantive, beyond faddish, beyond collectibles, beyond gaming activity to go ahead and catch on in order for it to go ahead and break out of that niche. And I don't know what it's going to take. I know there's a ton of money being thrown at it and a ton of time being spent on it. So I don't expect that it's going to take very long. But nevertheless, I think right now we're sitting at a very limited level of metaverse activity.
Indeed, I was talking with one project last week with the Metaverse, and they said that it's just the beginning. It's not what they see. Even the graphics does not measure what the potential it has to be. Jason, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so one of the companies we invested in is a Metaverse company. It was actually created by gamers, so David's spot on it, in terms of some of the initial vision behind it. So it's an avatar-based environment that they've created. And so in April of 2020, when the world went virtual, we started doing events on the platform for the entrepreneurial community. And so avatar-based, you get to walk around, control your environment. People did pitches. We had table topic discussions. So did that for about a year and a half on their platform, into late last year. And so for me, it was a way, and for other people, to come together, connect, meet each other in a virtual environment that was very different than Zoom or even what we're experiencing right now. So it was, you control your environment. And so you could have it highly interactive. So you could, so sponsors could also be engaged and interactive with the audiences. So at a minimum, I see the virtual environment as a real viable opportunity for people to connect, and augment some of the offline stuff. And so that is a real practical use I see. And I did lots of events for the last year and a half on that platform. So there's other uses, but that's the initial use case I wanted to mention.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Gary, we've spoken a bit about this before, and I know you have quite a point of view about the metaverse being not just for entertainment, but also having some social value. Can you expand on that, please?
Yeah, well, I mean, a couple of things. So, just to set, in 1991, Gellinter wrote a book called Mirror Worlds describing the metaverse. In 1992, there was a book written, Snow Crash, that actually talked about the metaverse. So this is not a new concept. Just we're all on the same page. There are avatars in these books. Mirror Worlds talked about it. So, but really what we're looking at is an extension of our real lives, right? The ability to do things that we normally had not been able to do before. And finally, technology's caught up to a point we can do it. So our virtual world, our avatars can interact, can buy things, can go places, real estate can be purchased. I mean, it's tokenization. One of the projects we have is called Cosmic, that is in our accelerator. And Cosmic is basically rewarding compassion and goodness in the metaverse. And it sounds like a loose term, but if you look at the tokenization of how we can, we see all the challenges on the planet today with issues in the Ukraine and around the world. We need to reset ourselves. We need to think differently. It's kind of funny. Charlie Chaplin did a movie called The Great Dictator at the time of World War I. I think it was 1919. I don't know if you've ever seen it. If you listen to that and take off the visuals, you'll think you're there today. It's crazy. We've got to go down through and we've got to figure out how we can work together. The world is a smaller place. Here we are. StreamYard was founded in 2018 in Canada, right? We need to go down through and use the technologies to make our lives better, to equalize and democratize the opportunity. The metaverse has given us a window to be able to do that. At the same time, we can't lose fact that there is a real world out there and there are real needs and wants. But within the metaverse, I'm dealing with one startup that actually works with people that are paraplegics, that gives them a chance, kind of like Avatar, the movie, to be able to interact inside of the metaverse, to do things they normally wouldn't be able to do. Physically, they may be confined, but virtually they're able to do what they want. But think about it. You're going to be able to buy properties. You're going to be able to shop. The combination of be able to buy something in a virtual store, but then have it shipped to a real location. I mean, think about the opportunity. It's quite cool. And then At the same time, there are going to be virtual worlds to be able to explore that we never thought that didn't exist before. Could be created by machine learning and deep learning. Worlds to look at, concepts to define, education can be had. I mean, it's just going to change. It is changing everything.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Whenever I say metaverse in the long run, I always imagine, I don't know, guys, have you seen Star Trek? Especially what was, I think, the next generation where they had the holodeck, right?
Yeah, exactly. That was the
Immersive
metaverse.
room.
Yeah. And they open up the door in the holodeck and you go in there and they're growing things. There's,
Yeah,
but then when they had a bug in the, they had a bug within the computer system, an error, it created a not good world, right? It created something very unusual. So at the same time, we got to be careful because we don't want to have a hacked metaverse.
exactly.
from a near reality to something absurd.
Exactly. Tony, welcome. Welcome
Thank
to
you.
the show.
Sorry, my other call went on a little bit longer, so I'm glad to join you. And yeah, it's an interesting world we live in, and it's the digital and the physical merging. It's the evolution of everything. We've gone from one to the other. The internet, if you thought about that 20, 30 years ago, it's the same kind of conversations. People didn't think you'd be able to shop online and do anything. It's the evolution of the technology as human needs and desires are changing. So is the technology and how we adapt them to this situation.
Definitely. And I was, it's a show a little bit what you can call how crazy, but crazy probably is not the right word. But just I'm very statistic oriented, so sorry for that. I'm always throwing in numbers, but some interesting things I found, like statistics. Fortnite, started making concerts in their metaverse. So far, 10.7 million people have attended that. A digital Gucci bag was sold for more than 4,100, outbiting the item's actual real price. A show by the singer Little Nas X was viewed by 33 million people in Roblox. And so it goes on and on. You have crazy statistics that show that probably not the new generation, but a lot of people accepting and adapting metaverse to their everyday lives. What otherwise they would have gone to actually buy the Gucci bag or actually gone to the concert. So I would like to ask you, in your everyday life, what is one part of it that you can actually see that you're going to take that part of your life and do it in the metaverse?
Okay,
I think,
okay, sorry.
yeah, I think we're doing it right now. I mean, here we are. We're at the portal of the metaverse. We're on locations, Chicago. I don't know where Tony is, New York. I don't know where you are today, Javier. But let me tell you, in 2018 and 2015, when I was one of the first Zoom users, it didn't exist. We are starting that journey together. Look at your backgrounds that we have here, right? 3 of us have virtual backgrounds. The journey has started.
Exactly. I was going to say the same thing. If you thought just before the COVID, we were doing this in a physical location, we had to fly there and doing it. Because of the COVID, we embraced the technology, and this is basically the one step before we do the next. Probably this year, we'll be doing this kind of panel discussion in the metaverse. This is going to be the next stage to it. It's a progression, and I do believe this is exciting. Business is a big part of the metaverse, but also virtual and the gamification, because this is what people are looking for. The entertainment value has come into people's lives, and people are embracing it, and this is becoming part of who they are.
Yeah, definitely.
I had a Zoom call. I'll never forget this. And if he listened today, he amazed me. So he had his avatar on the Zoom call. I don't know what the guy really looks like, but he had like aviator goggles on. It looked like a cartoon creature with wings on the back. And the guy's a genius. But it was the first time that I realized that the metaverse is here, right? The metaverse is now part of us.
Definitely. I think it was yesterday, day before yesterday, I had an AMA interview with a blockchain project. And because it's decentralized, the person, the co-founder, didn't want to give his face, show his face. So he actually had an avatar, and just with one name. I think it was Tony, example, actually. But again, I was interviewing an avatar. So
Well,
yeah,
you don't know who you're viewing. You know, remember with unsupervised AI, that avatar may not even really exist. It may not be a person. You know.
Well, it reminds me of Max Headroom, if you remember those old
Yeah.
commercials with that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was an avatar type of character. You know, I think for me with the metaverse, it goes back to the events. You know, I'm a big event person, planned a lot of in-person events for 20 years. We had to go virtual in 2020. For me, the virtual nature of interaction is here to stay. And Tony mentioned a little bit, and I think we all did, technology has been accelerated and adopted at a much quicker pace. So this stuff is now very normal for people to do. So for me to interact with investors and entrepreneurs, the virtual nature of it makes a lot of sense. We can connect people around the world, do not have to leave our office or homes for an initial meeting. I still believe in face-to-face, but it's also very important. You know, we're more efficient, we can save time, etc. And so meeting entrepreneurs in the metaverse, I think, is a real thing. And I've done that already in the last couple of years. So I think that's only going to accelerate. We'll probably see more unique environments to do that that are more innovative than what we have right now. So I'm excited to see where that goes, because you don't have to be physical to meet everyone and do everything anymore.
I agree with you, and it's an interesting situation. I was in Dubai last week, and I was talking to somebody, and they asked me, says, "Why do you think this is becoming such? People are hesitant and not hesitant." And I said, "Just remember, okay, there's a certain generation, and I think we are that generation where we understand the old ways and we also understand the new ways, and we have to learn it. We've had to learn about the internet and how to interact with it." From having our first kind of avatar, which is our email, to our IM, to our social media, this is the progression. The business side is the same thing. We are in that transition where we are learning about it. The generation after us will become normal for them. But from our generation, we understand that people to people is so important. I think the younger people will find it totally normal just to do everything digitally. But because we've been educated and had to go through it, it's very hard for us to actually embrace one fully, the digital fully at the moment, because our mindset's already been merged, the physical and digital. As younger people, they're becoming more and more digital. That's what my belief is.
Mm-hmm. David, what do you think? What's one area of your life that you think that later on, a couple of years, you're going to start doing it in Metaverse?
To be honest, and this is my role, I think none. And this is my role inside of my fund. So I am very much, an old soul and an old actor. I'm not a technology person. I'm a markets person. That's my background. Distressed, corporate restructuring, fundamental bottoms-up analysis. When I decided to get invested in this space and launch a fund 5 years ago now, dedicated to crypto, essentially, I needed to find an evangelist and serve as that person's foil, and that's really what I do for our fund. And I'm not I believe in the underpinnings of blockchain technology. I believe in a lot of the very fundamental value adds that it brings when it comes to people's tastes and when it comes to I would say non-necessities, right? Things that are very much discretionary. My role in the fund is to approach that very skeptically. We haven't been involved in NFTs directly, but we've been involved in the infrastructure surrounding the investing in and trading of NFTs. I think that there's value to that. There's value to the plumbing. When it comes to the metaverse, I don't play any of the games that my kids do in terms of those that are thought or top of mind. My kids from the ages of 21 down to 6 are all involved in those worlds. And I think they prefer to live their lives in part in those worlds. And I don't. I don't. So you're asking me a personal question. What do I think I will be doing? I don't think I'll be doing much unless I'm forced to. And there are very good reasons that have already been, pronounced before I'm speaking for why I'll be forced to. If everybody's meeting in the metaverse, so to say, I'll have no choice, right? I'm on this call,
You have no choice.
not because I have no choice. Certainly, I have
But it's what
to
you do.
The real question is, in other words, to go back for a second, I'm always trying to figure out how are people going to monetize this. So let's say we go ahead and take this current StreamYard, to some, I don't know, multiple level where it's, super cool in the metaverse. Question is how is somebody monetizing that? Where is the profitability on that? If it's just being created for fun, I understand there are people that may be dedicated, followers or fans that will do it. But I'm trying to figure out how are people going to make money. And just, one last vignette. So we scour some kind of far reaches of the world for some of our investments. So I was down in Argentina at the end of January and early February. And Argentina happens to be an incredibly educated country, but it also happens to be tremendously messed up from a financial perspective in terms of the value of the peso. And so therefore it is a country where it makes a lot of sense that blockchain and crypto should thrive because people are really smart on the one hand, but unfortunately the ecosystem that they live in or the traditional ecosystem is very messed up. And so there's been a lot of great projects that have come out of there. And we met with one company that's focused on the metaverse. And they are ex-Mercado Libre people. Mercado Libre, for people that don't know,
it's
it's
like
Amazon, Latin America, let's say. And they are creating a metaverse for fashion and design. And they are collaborating with designers such that when you buy a certain product physically in a store, you also get that avatar or the QR code for that dress or handbag or whatever, to be yours in the metaverse. And they're looking to go ahead and essentially make a crossover life. There will be fashion shows in person, and there will be fashion shows that happen, on their platform in the metaverse. To me, there is at that point a monetization, right? Because they are a host for events that people want to pay for, in addition to the extent that they're minting NFTs along with the designers. Every time the NFT gets transferred, there is revenue generating, to the designer, which they can go ahead and clip a percentage off of for happening to be the platform that introduced the designer, to the end buyer. So,
so that for you makes sense, right?
It makes sense because people are making money. There is a revenue stream, and there's, in a way, a bankable revenue stream almost. And then it's just a question about adoption, right? And we all know, the issues surrounding adoption when it comes to, technology. And, sometimes they're picked up quickly by first movers, and then there are those like myself who are forced into it because they have no choice. So, to me, again, I'm not invested in that project, but it's something that I guess resonates more with me in terms of what are the revenue streams, how this is all going to come together. And it surrounds something that people are already consuming, which is fashion and design. So, the points have been made about events and concerts and athletic events and things like that. I get it. It just needs to be, for me, it needs to be, I guess more closely attached in order for me to get excited about it, because just to see the monetization of it.
Okay, so David, from your point of view, do you think Metaverse, with everything that's happening now, the concerts, the Gucci bags being sold, or the Metaverse, is it a trend, a fade, or you think it's here to stay and it'll just get bigger?
I think that the universe for the users is going to be finite, but that being said, it's a generational thing. So as people like me get older and more younger people fill the population base, I think there'll be an increasingly large user base. But I don't think, I've never watched the concert on TV. I don't mean to sound terribly old school, but, to me, I mean, sports watching on TV, I get it. but to watch avatars playing a game, not really my thing. I'm not an e-gaming guy, either. So therefore, it's not something. And by the way, just so I pitch to investors. My investor base is, folks that generally have invested in very traditional investments, stocks, bonds, and so forth. And to go ahead and invest in, the metaverse, yes, could be pitched as a technology, and certainly it can be pitched as an enterprise. But the most important thing is profitability. And sometimes, a lot of these dreams, start out, with no focus on profitability. Just it's all about user acquisition.
Thank you, David. Thank you for that insight. No, it's still valid because I think metaverse. You say metaverse, and everybody's thinking about or NFTs or gaming, right? So my next question for you, gentlemen, is if you think out of the box, what do you think would be a good metaverse area or an area where the metaverse can actually help make a difference and actually be something that that will just not be like a fade, but will actually make a difference among the population? Like, for example, healthcare. People now, let's say in Ukraine, in a war-torn zone, cannot have access to a doctor, but maybe in a metaverse that will resemble a hospital, there can be some kind of online consultations, right? Do you have any idea or something else similar that would actually not just be a metaverse for gaming or NFTs, but something that can make a difference?
I think with charities, I think charities. Sorry, Gary. I think charity is a big part of it. We've seen it with Ukraine. In regards to funding and stuff like that, it's the traditional charities takes a long time and everything, but because of the way that it's been presented through NFTs and different way, they've generated a huge amount of money in a very short period of time. And this money is going to those in need. This is a little different example, but it's an adaptation of where we wouldn't have talked about it 2-3 years ago. I believe with the metaverse as well, when you're talking about it, the medical side of it is huge, but you can't help somebody if you cannot give treatment to them. So I believe certain medical, it can be used, but the actual application of actually giving physical medical treatment, especially in the war zones, I think the technology hasn't gone to that part yet. But real estate, I believe, is a huge one where this is going to be a big part of it, where real estate transactions can be done. And in non-freely traded currency countries, like I was in the UAE, I believe that is going to be a big market where transfer of assets will be done via NFTs, just because of the liquidity side of it, and much easier to invest and take the money out. I believe that is going to be a big part of it.
Okay, thank you.
Tony, I just want to say something just for all of us here. This is a little off point, but my wife's uncle is getting bombed right now in the Ukraine, like literally as we speak. And this morning we had a conversation with him. We've been using technology. I mean, I've been doing simple things like Airbnb, and I've been booking rooms all over the Ukraine for people. I try to find places that have been blown up, and I've been booking their rooms, and booking them for 3 days or a week or 2 weeks or whatever to try to help. So we have come together as a planet. And Tony, you're right on target. Whatever we can do with NFTs to help these poor people. My wife's Russian Ukrainian, right? So we're on both sides of it. I lived in Moscow 14 years. But we got to use the technology to be able to, for goodness, right? It's amazing we do all these bad things to each other, but we have these incredible technologies like medicine, ways to be able to bring compassion and goodness together. We need to start using them in a positive direction. I had the pleasure of speaking at the United Nations, and my presentation was AR and VR is a tool to combat violent extremism, terrorism. That was my panel, right? And I listened to 3/4 of it, and I got so pissed off that I changed my presentation for technology as a tool for peace. Where nothing good's going to happen if we don't start taking care of each other and helping each other and using tools, the metaverse, for work in society to make it better. because listen, we're all in this together. If we don't do something, in another 250 years, we're going to go extinct. Look at where we are with oil and gas. Look at how we polluted our planet. Average temperatures going up to 7 degrees Fahrenheit by the end of this century. Population, we need to double the food supply by 2050 to feed everybody. Got a lot of challenges. Population is going to go from 8.1 billion to 13 by the end of the century. How are we going to feed everybody, right? And there's 80% of the fresh waters in the Antarctica. What happens when it melts? Nothing good, right? We need to come together and help each other. And I don't know why we are in the situations we are today, but we need to revamp the technology and bring some compassion back in our lives.
Thank you, Gary. Yes, well said. Yep. Who else would like?
Yes, please. I agree with you, Gary. This thing is, even we are talking about technology at the moment, I always use an example of water, okay? The simplest element, okay? This can give us life, but it can also take us away. But it's us as human beings that utilize that asset. And it's the same thing as technology at the moment. And I agree with you, we have to come together. But that's basically the blockchain, the NFTs. We're using this for good, okay? And this is everybody on this panel, even from the old school kind of situation. I'm not technology. I got no idea about this stuff, okay? But I'm an investor. I understand where the opportunity is. I know everybody's laughing, but I think Windows is called Windows because you need to throw it out of one half the time, okay? So I'm not that, but I do understand where the opportunity in bringing this technology together is, and this is where I stand on it. And I believe this that we're in a situation now where the technology has been adapted, and I can see some amazing things happening in the next 2 weeks in regards to blockchain, crypto, NFT to help the people in Ukraine.
And we got to do it. We got to show, it's really interesting. So I have a lot of Russians on my Facebook page, about 3,000 of them, and Ukrainians, by the way. And the people want to reach out and help, but they want to figure out what kind of path they can take to be able to do it. So I like it, Tony, with the NFTs and blockchain. We're working on some of that stuff now. But I went back to the old school, as I said. 61,000 rooms were booked on Airbnb in the Ukraine within 3 days for people trying to make sure people directly had money to be able to eat and to survive.
Wow, that's a major advantage that you can see right now. Then sort of like a metaverse.
And that's it. Let's go out and figure out how we can help. When it's kind of like, so many things are in the world, right? Anonymous now, whoever Anonymous is or what they do or whatever, but think about it. They're changing things.
Yeah, the anonymous group. Yeah. Got really interesting things. Jason, would you have any final remarks?
Yeah, when you throw in a virtual headset, you can obviously do a lot more. And you mentioned medicine. There's training involved. You can create a unique environment to bring people together. So, creating a true digital environment or avatar-based environment, you add all those tools. There's a lot of things. We talked about shopping before. Nike, I believe, allows you to try on shoes in the metaverse and purchase them. There's a lot of those cases now out there, but the opportunities are endless. It just, it's really your imagination. But a lot of it, I think, is trying to mirror the offline world into the online, but also adding more engagement and more ways to do things differently that you couldn't do in person. So I know with the events that I've hosted, there are things that we did there that you couldn't do in person. So it really enhances engagement, enhances commerce. So I think we're just at the very tip of it. And also one thing, there still has to be a discussion around Web3 if you're talking about Metaverse. Having a non-avatar that you can take across platforms, controlling your own data, et cetera, your own experience. So I think this is part of the next iteration of the internet. So it's exciting, and it's still early as we talk about, but there's going to be a lot of things coming.
Definitely. I also believe they'll be just at the beginning right now. And it'll be up to us, as Gary said, that we can use it for something banal as just buying a Gucci shop or watching a concert, or put it to good use to help each other. So it's really just depending on us. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being in this panel discussion. Really appreciate it. For our viewers, remember, you can always watch the shows on YouTube. You can download them and rewatch them again and even share them. So, panel, thank you very much. I hope to have you again. Another interesting topic.
Okay.
And for viewers, thank you for your time and stay safe.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.